I'm calling this Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners meeting of November 12th, 2019 to order. Proof of publication is available upon request. We start our meeting with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And just prior to the prayer tonight, I would like to just take one moment of silence for Dottie Hall, wife of Charlie, our County Coroner Charlie Hall, who passed away within this last week unexpectedly. We pray this day to give thanks for all the many blessings bestowed upon our township. Watch over us who are entrusted with the administration of this township. Create in us the earnest desire to serve faithfully and permit us to experience the joys of noble service completed for our residents. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and those who serve. Help us to use every willing service and every effort to put forth for good government. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance to help us as commissioners to make the right decisions. We ask that you aid our staff as they perform the daily tasks of running our township, and we request that you be by our first responders as they protect our residents and see that they return home safe at the end of each day. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, in our packets this week, we received a series of minutes from October 7th, the ad hoc budget meeting, October 21st, 2019 budget meeting, and October 28th, regular meeting. And I just have a comment before we try to move on those. Did the November 4th minutes, are they just not ready?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll move, should we move individually on these?
Yes.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the October 7th, 2019 ad hoc budget meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I'm looking for a motion for approval of the October 21st, 2019 budget meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I'm looking for a motion for approval of the October 28th, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. At this time, I would like to make note to the Secretary that President Black is absent this evening with excuse. Thank you. At this point on our agenda, this is the time that audience can participate on any item on the agenda. Do you have any? Do you have anything to say on any item on the agenda, John? Nope. Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 5 on the consent agenda, or the consent agenda. Any commissioner, staff member, or anyone else in attendance who would like to have any item on the consent agenda removed for further discussion can request it. So now, is there a request for the removal of any item on the consent agenda?
Is that we approve the consent agenda as listed?
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The next item on the agenda is under the Vice President. I'm looking for a motion to approve the check register of November 8th, 2019, in the amount of $365,594.08. I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 4-0. At this point on the agenda, any business pertinent to the township will make discussions limited to around 15 minutes per person. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 8, public safety. Is this going to be you, Dave?
Before you is a letter essentially that asks for probation satisfaction for, I know that the name of the top is Justin Kevin, but it's not.
Okay.
Actually, Tony Deaton, that was a misprint that wasn't caught until right now. So on April the 22nd, Tony Deaton was appointed. Resolution of the board 2019 R16 required a 6-month probationary status. His effective start date was May 13th. He will have achieved a 6-month probationary period on November 14th. During that last 6 months, he has had an outstanding service record, and I would ask that the board actually move him from probation to normal status on that effective date.
So we are looking for a action on this item tonight. So if, I'm looking for a motion to accept the release of VMS Captain Tony Deaton from probation effective November 13th, 2019, as per the information Director Hall gave us in his memo.
I want to talk about that a minute.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second,
wanna
and
talk
now,
about
and
that
now
a
we
minute.
can discuss it, yes.
You got it.
Yep, we did, yep. The motion was from Ped, yes. You got it, yep. The motion was from Ped, and the second was from Rick, and now we can discuss. Caroline?
I don't have a problem with approving or taking him off probation with the understanding, have you talked to him about his cockiness?
We've had plenty of conversation.
You have talked to him about it and he has improved with that?
I'm not going to talk about personnel issues.
All for the question.
So all those, we have a motion and a second to take out of probation effective November 13th, 2019. I'm looking for a motion to do so. Oh, I'm sorry, you're correct. We have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, number 9 on our agenda tonight is community and economic development. John, I understand you have some information on the zoning hearing board.
That is correct, sir. Thank you. So the zoning hearing board met on the 17th of October. The one docket that was heard was the application of Derry Young on behalf of High Associates regarding their property at 4910 through 4932 Louise Drive. That's a little strip business center, which has predominantly small businesses and some restaurants in it. The purpose of the application was to obtain a special exception to reduce the required number of off-street parking spaces, which would facilitate some more seating. The zoning hearing board was generally satisfied with the applicant's presentation that the reduction was justified. He had a lot of data from the busiest times of day on weekdays. A lot of people walk there from the hotels and the businesses. So that was satisfactory, but the applicant didn't do a very good job in quantifying how much relief he was asking for, and there was confusion. So the hearing board continued the matter until this month's meeting on the 21st, where the applicant will come back with a site plan and tabular data and seating plan, so he'll be able to better quantify exactly what relief he's asking for. So it appears that the hearing board is satisfied with the burden of proof that the parking can be reduced, the required number of parking spaces can be reduced. He's not going to eliminate any parking spaces. It will facilitate more seating. So that'll be hashed out in a continued hearing on Thursday, the 21st. And looks like we're finally going to have a hearing on the application of Sheets Incorporated regarding the properties at 1500 and 1510 Cedar Cliff Drive for redevelopment. Um, You may recall, it was filed in July, the original hearing in August, plus September and October were all continued, while Sheets was working with there were some citizen objectors and concerned citizens that they were working with. So on the 31st, we received an amended application and site plan, so we advertised alternative relief. The amended site plan shows a building that is approximately 5,000 square feet, but if you divide up the uses within it, they're both compliant with the 4,000 square foot limit, eliminating the need for those variances. They still need a variance for the fueling island. There's 3 uses: fueling island, convenience store, and a fast food restaurant. So it's all 3 things in one property. So as I said, by building a smaller prototype store, the convenience component is less than 4,000 square feet. So they would still need a variance for the fueling islands because it exceeds 5,000 square feet. They're also sticking with their previous request for a variance to have 12 fueling positions, not 12 pumps, but 12 fueling positions instead of the maximum of 8 that are in the district. Okay, so
Okay, I'm feeling a little less than knowledgeable right now. Can you, I thought I understood this 12 and 8.
okay. The District C1 limits the fueling positions at gas pumps to 8.
What's a fueling position?
2 sides of one pump.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 cars per pump. So, for example, the compliant Gulf Station has 4 pumps and 8 fueling positions right now. Sheets is saying we would like to have 6 pumps, 12 fueling positions. That requires a variance. Okay. And then they're asking for a special exception to reduce the required off-street parking because our ordinance is rather onerous on fast food. They've got a small part of the building, and it would require, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but the total parking required would be about 89, and they're proposing 40, and they have industry data to support 40 is adequate. That's what they'll present to the hearing board. I do recall when they totally rebuilt the McDonald's. That was one of the major components of relief for McDonald's was if you do a full-service restaurant, it's based on the number of seats divided by 2. That's how many parking spaces. Fast food has a really high requirement. So that might be something we take a look at. I know the Development Authority was tasked with looking at impediments to redevelopment of property. That might be something we look at in the zoning code. But in any event, that's it. So they're asking for alternate relief because of the complications and the possibility that they might morph part of Plan A and Plan B at the hearing. We're not sure because I don't know that there's a guarantee that the objector citizens group has signed off on everything. We're expecting it could be a moving target. Therefore, we're asking that the solicitor participate, just so we have a little extra assistance in keeping on track.
Okay, so you are requesting action from us tonight. Does that require action from us, official action? It does, okay. So,
We have
Does anybody-
we have no recommendation to oppose or support anything. It would be just to help the process along in case they morph into a part of Plan A and part of Plan B or any surprises.
understood, it sounds prudent to me. The only question I have, I guess it's just a question. Wouldn't it seem, I mean, doesn't it seem like, I mean, I understand the hesitation from going from 8 to 12, but I mean, I've been over there, I mean, I've looked at it, and it's adding essentially two towers or whatever they call them. But if the traffic's gonna be in and out of there anyway, it seems like we would want to get the people fueled and gone as soon as possible. I mean, less pumps seems like it would even jam things up more. I mean, I'm not a logistics person or expert, but it just seems to me like having less pumps or having more pumps would be advantageous for traffic flow, getting things moving.
One would reasonably expect that that will be a main focus of their testimony.
Oh, okay. Because
I
I,
think,
Mr.
sorry.
President,
yes.
question, John. Are they going to have to build additional islands, or where are they going to put these additional,
Well, they've presented the original Plan A and now Plan B with 6 pumps, 12 positions. So they're planning on
expanding
the
this?
full-size, they have all along proposed the full-size canopy with 6 pumps and 12 fueling positions beneath them. And they did ask for a variance with Plan A, or their original application. They're asking for the same variance with their revised plan. So that's been one of their requests all along. And again, like Commissioner Vallone was saying, I would suspect that they will present testimony explaining the logistics of how 12 is better than 8 as far as not allowing backing and stacking, but I don't have that information. That's up for the hearing board to receive.
Okay, thank
Are
you.
they gonna
Commissioner Holt,
have
yeah.
traffic coming in on Cedar Cliff Drive as well as Carlisle?
There is no access to the property from Carlisle Road.
There's no access on Carlisle Road. It's all gonna be on Cedar Cliff Drive.
And that's the way it is now, but the new entrance and exit will be farther away from the intersection of Carlisle and Cedar Cliff, and the one driveway that's closer, that's already there, will remain restricted right in, right out.
There's a real good chance that the whole configuration will change from what there's there now. Because
Oh,
you're taking
absolutely.
off a whole nother property to add to it, right?
Absolutely. The two properties will be combined. The total square footage of the replacement building will be smaller than the sum of the two buildings, the bank and the existing Gulf Mart that are there now. The gas island canopy would be larger. But spatially, things would be relocated on the lot to allow for circulation, for drive-through circulation, for gasoline, and parking for people that want to go into the building.
That property is a lot deeper than I realized.
It is.
Driving by and taking special notice, it's a lot deeper than is being used right now.
I'm trying to
John,
think.
what's going
The
in?
building's gonna be turned facing,
Don't know that.
it's gonna be facing Cedar Cliff?
Sorry, I didn't put it up on the screen. I have a drawing here I can refer to.
Let's do it the old-fashioned way, John.
Yeah.
Remember when we used to do it that way, John?
So this isn't radically different from, this is pretty much the same as the original application. So this is the existing driveway of the existing Gulf that's restricted in turn, so that would be a right in, right out. There are other driveways to the gas stations in about here, and then you have the bank property, so the bank building's coming down, Gulf building's coming down, so the new two-way entrance and exit would be much farther from the intersection than what is about here now. And that allows for people to circulate to the pump islands, or circulate around through the drive-through, or to come into the parking field here, here, and here to park if they're going into the store for convenience items or food.
So
Okay,
the,
so here's Carlisle,
Correct.
and here's Cedar Cliff, so here's where they, okay. I was gonna say, I thought it'd cause a lot of congestion, but I guess it wouldn't.
This is, I believe, where the driveway is now,
Yeah,
it's
one miss,
restricted. And then the other one, I think, is in about here, so that's closed off and move it here. Thank you.
Because you're back on the bank property.
Are these the pumps?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could be on either side of them, that would be 12 positions.
So they are sort of where some of them already are.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Somewhat.
Because I guess otherwise
they're just,
Dig up those tanks.
they're now perpendicular to the street.
Pretty much here.
Oh, all right.
Because right now, the cars are when you go into pump, your
Yeah,
car's
the
parallel
flow
to
is this
Cedar
way.
Cliff, and now
You
it's
come
this
in here
way.
and you flow that way.
That actually seems logical to do it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
You get all those hand motions?
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
Thanks, John.
Are there, is that all you had, Carolyn?
That is all I have.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Eby? So I guess we'd be looking for a motion to authorize the solicitor to attend the zoning hearing board meeting on the 21st of November.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Is that it?
Yes, I'm sorry, Cliff sprung across the room.
All right, Mr. Manager, you're up.
Thank you. In your packet was a notice intended to go to the newspaper to advertise our 2020 meeting schedule. This covers all meetings, including the budget meetings for next fall, Development Authority, Planning Commission, Rec Board, Zoning Hearing Board, and Stormwater Authority. So it doesn't need to be approved tonight, but if, unless you have any questions about it or concerns with it, you could approve it tonight, and then we can get it advertised.
Move we approve the 2020 meeting dates as provided by the staff.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, who picked up the motion?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Shin motioned, Commissioner Holtzman second.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Lower Allen Township 2020 meeting schedule. And I have a question, only because I was asked this several times during this election cycle, and I'm not even sure if it would apply, but somebody had mentioned about having our meetings the night before the election. I don't know if it caused a problem, but it was brought to my attention, both after the primary and after the general, and I think both of these dates, I know one for sure, conflicts. Well, I think the April does too, because I think,
I wasn't sure when the.
yeah, I think the primary is early this year. I don't really, I'm indifferent about it. So I don't know if are these, I guess they're flexible, right? The dates to
Sure.
switch things if we wanted.
We don't, there isn't anybody on, the only people who'd be concerned about it would be people on the board running.
You would think so, right? But I mean, I feel remiss if I didn't
There isn't anybody
bring this
running for the
information
board,
up.
so,
So,
What was the explanation of what?
just, I guess, having the meeting the night before the election, I mean, maybe it just had to do with what they thought was a logistical issue, so. I don't see a need to make any changes, I just felt like I should bring it up.
Okay.
So if there's no interest in that, I think we should just move forward with
Call for the
this.
question.
So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, so next is commissioner reports. Wow, we're moving along. We'll start with Aaron.
Thanks for coming out to the Bonton demolition event last Wednesday. I think all of you were there, so I think it went fairly well. Also, that same night, Tom and I went to Upper Allen. We were asking for a letter of support for our multimodal application for the pedestrian bridge over to connect Upper Allen and Lower Allen in the Arcona neighborhood. And they did give us a letter of support. They did have kind of like a condition. They wanted to make sure that we were including them in the process as they move forward, as we would learn more. And we did let them know if we don't get the grant, we're not moving forward at all. So, so we did that. And then on Saturday, we had our first new resident workshop. Commissioner Shin came out to that, and so did Commissioner Black, and Dave Hall was also there. We had about 20 people turn out, which
That
we
was
thought was
great.
pretty good.
Nice.
We had some pretty good feedback. I think every single one of us ran long on our presentations, but someone said I have to go to the Penn State game. I was going to bail, so I'm glad you guys ended when you did. But I think it, I think it went well. Do you have any thoughts or anything about that?
I thought it went very well. And I think the only issue we had was we didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little bit of time in the end, and then I ran over. So,
Everybody ran over. It
yeah.
wasn't- You just got
So-
short end of the stick through the last one.
so I think that it maybe we're gonna shave down presentations a little bit, but I also think for questions, we may want to buffer that up to 2 hours. You know?
Well, I was sorry to have to leave. I got a phone call last minute. I was trying to sell an exercise machine, and it was like a, you know, a white elephant I was trying to get rid of, and somebody showed interest in it, and I had to get home and dust it, you know, clean the dust off of it. But I appreciated what I saw. I wish I could have stayed. The next one, I'll be at.
Yeah, I think our plan's to do them quarterly, so.
Great.
Great.
It was great.
Fine
Turnout
tune
was
each time, and
phenomenal.
then we'll be like pros.
That was good turnout.
I'm just curious, obviously I wasn't there, was there a turnout from the Arcona area particularly, like, was it weighted?
I think like 4 that were
Four?
from Arcona, like 2 couples, it seemed
Mhm.
like. They were very engaged. I think it's a very engaged neighborhood. They had lots of questions and they hung out afterwards and followed up with more questions, so.
That's great.
We had moments where I saw people and they were kind of fading, and then moments where I saw people feverishly taking notes, so.
Great.
I can honestly tell you professionally, that's the way it goes.
That's right.
Thank you, Aaron. Is that it?
Yeah.
Director Hull?
2 quick things. One is, and I have to check the time on this, but if any of the commissioners are interested, let me know, and I certainly will get back to you. But the 7th grade team graduation is Friday, the 22nd of November.
I'm
It
signed up
starts at
for that.
11:40.
I'm signed up for that.
You are? Okay, so I'm just letting everybody know in case anybody's interested. But 11:40 at Allen Middle School. And the other thing is Coffee with a Cop is again down at Starbucks from 8 to 10 on the 26th.
When
It's
is
a
that?
Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 26th. So if anybody from the board is interested, we'll see you all there at either one.
Is that around the same time, the Starbucks thing?
Starbucks is 8 to 10,
8 to 10.
right. that
And where's that
Tuesday.
at?
Starbucks.
Okay, I'll bite, where's Starbucks?
The one at Cedar
I see.
Cliff?
Down
Right,
on Carlisle,
McDonald's.
right, almost cat corner.
The
next to
newer one?
McDonald's.
Parking the gas station.
Yeah.
On Carlisle
Cat
Road.
corner from where the potential sheets is going.
Oh, okay. Didn't know
What's
we
the
had a
time?
Starbucks. Okay.
What was the time on the other one? Dave?
Yeah, what's the?
11:40 for the team graduation.
Is that it, Dave?
That's it.
Thank you. Steve?
Actually, just one comment on the meeting schedule, just make sure I'm, for my own planning purposes. Development Authority, the second item, February 18th. The footnote says, 3 says Wednesday due to President's Day. I think it's Tuesday due to President's Day, right?
Yes, we're Tuesday, and then the planning commission meets that 2 days as well at 7, so we'll meet at 6 and then they meet at 7.
Thank you.
So footnote 3 should be a Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay.
Got that?
And that's my only comment.
Was
Thank
that
you.
it? Commissioner Holtzman?
Yeah, I was approached, and, which I wasn't aware of it, about people that have 25 years service and they're part-timers, and 20 years service and are part-timers, where they're only getting credit for their hours. I thought, regardless if you're 25 years or 15 years, 10 years, whatever your part-time, you got credit for your years, it wasn't hours.
No, it's hours for part-timers,
Why?
because part-timers work all different numbers of hours. We have some that work over 500 hours a year, and there's some that work 100 hours a year.
And,
So, no, we don't do it by year. We do it by the amount of service they've actually given us.
They work an 8-hour, 12-hour days, and then they come in here and work 4, 5, 6, 8-hour, 12-hour days for us, and that's why we've lost a lot of our true blue EMTs, and, you know, I couldn't understand why we lost, you know, Stevie Overmill, or why we lost Tim Shealy, why we were losing these guys on the ambulance. I wasn't understanding that, why they no longer were putting time
Well,
in.
what credit do you want them to, I mean, I think by a full-time employee, they've been with the township 25 years, they're getting paid for their hours, it's not their only.
No, they're volunteers.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
No, we
They're
haven't had ambulance volunteers in 20 years.
There's no
The last ambulance volunteer we had was Marilyn Kranzel. That was 20 years ago.
And they're not asking, you know, for money, they're not asking for anything, they're just asking for credit. They said, you know, a little plaque or whatever for service would be nice, you know, but to be kicked to the curb because,
Well, I think that's a complete mischaracterization of what happened. Nobody kicked them to the curb, and we have always done part-timers by hours, not years. So if they were here to get recognition, they were probably here for the wrong reasons.
well, now don't put words in my mouth. It's not for, you know, but a little bit of credit due for our true blue.
And we give them credit, and when they reach a certain number of hours, they get their plaque, they get their certificate.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, we've just always done it the same way. If you would like to change it, that's certainly a conversation we can have.
I think we
But-
need to look at that.
But, I mean,
because-
it's not like we've been doing them wrong. We're not, you know, everybody, all part-timers have been given the same credit for the same number of hours once they reach a certain plateau.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yes.
There comes a time when someone reaches a number of hours and they're recognized.
That's
I mean,
correct.
I've been here 30 years and we've always done it that way. Now, somebody who's a full-timer and we're counting the years, they're putting in full-time 25 years, so that's.
And they're
what
getting
it is.
paid for it. I don't think that we should,
So are these other ambulance people, we're saying they're part-time, right? You said I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just trying to understand.
I understand what you're saying, but I think somebody that works a full-time job and then comes in here and puts in, I don't care if it's 4 hours a day or if it's 6 hours a day, and they cover our overnight shifts when nobody else will do it.
How would you position?
I
this
think they should
recognition?
get credit, not for their hours, for their loyalty to us.
Okay, how often would you like to do it?
If they're here and they're putting 4 hours or 6 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours or whatever, and they're here and they put a full year in, even though it's 4, 12, 5, 6, 8 hours, and they do that for 15 years, I think they should get 15 years.
Is it gonna make a difference whether they do 4 hours a week or 10 hours a week?
No,
Okay.
I'm saying when they're dedicated and they do it for 25 years, they should get 25
All
years.
right, so
Not if they do it 4 hours a week for 25 years,
so the letter
but if they
would,
do it on a regular basis.
the letter would read, been a part-time employee and affiliated with the township for 25 years.
If they do it on a regular basis, not that they do 4 hours a week here, there, and everything else. I'm saying the dedicated guys that do it on a regular basis,
Okay.
that are doing it 4 hour, or 4 days a week, or 5 days a week, who are doing it on a regular week, like Steve Overmiller, like Tim Shealy,
Okay.
who do it on a regular basis.
So we're doing away with the hours then? It doesn't matter how many hours they give us, as long as they're here another year, every 5 years they get recognition.
If
Just
they do it on
regardless of
a
how much
regular
time.
basis.
Okay, well, those
We
two-
need to identify what regular is.
Thank you.
Somebody who's willing to give at least 4 days a week or 5 days a week, and at least 4 hours or 5 hours a day, or 4 hours a day on a regular weekly basis, who does say they give us, say 20 hours a week or 25 hours a week on a regular weekly basis.
That's the problem.
So I'm
that
curious to-
having under-
Go ahead.
That's the problem I'm having to understand. What is the regular basis you're looking at?
A regular weekly basis. When I volunteered 4 days a week, every week. And you know what? I got fired because I had a broken arm and couldn't work. From here.
So I'm curious to know, what is our threshold with the hours where somebody would get a recognition at this point?
I
So
don't know what that is.
you'd- oh, okay.
No.
I
Well,
mean,
Tom, Mr. Vice President.
I would defer to you, right?
Do you understand where, I would like, before we change anything, I would like staff to come back with,
Yeah.
with something that we can look at and, because,
I'm not saying change it now. I'm saying look into it and see how many hours these volunteers are putting in on a regular basis.
Well, again, we don't have volunteers.
Could
You're
we,
talking about part-timers, not volunteers. We don't,
No, I'm saying volunteers.
you're talking about, are you talking about fire company volunteers?
Pardon me?
Are we
Fire company
or
volunteers or
EMS?
ambulance volunteers?
Both.
We don't have ambulance volunteers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why we don't have them.
It's probably not the reason we don't have them, but.
Yeah, it is the reason we don't
We
have
haven't had volunteers for, like I said, about 20 years.
Oh, more than that?
So-
Yeah, more than that.
so we should move on with this. Why don't we come up, first of all, I think the board, I mean, should probably see before we make any decisions what our current policy is and what our thresholds are for part-time employees. I'm not sure if I understand it correctly. Maybe I haven't been around long. For volunteers, part-time employees, and full-time employees. And I think if we understand what we do right now as a whole, and it's all in one place for us to see, then maybe we can go from there. Is that okay with everybody? Or
Sure, I'll get you I'll get you the list of benchmark hours.
yeah, the
that-
hours.
That
and-
we, that Donna prepares certificates for.
And then if the board after that reviews it, and we can look at it, Carolyn, and if we decide we want to add a layer in there as a board, then, we can look at that.
Okay.
I don't think we need to take any action on that tonight.
I would hope not.
Okay. Is everybody good with that for now, at least, till we come back with it? Okay. Well, Carolyn, is there anything else?
Not right now.
Okay. Commissioner Shea?
Yes. What does it take to get a deer crossing sign at a road? And I'll tell you why I'm asking. Don't smirk at me.
That was gonna be set for a joke.
No.
It is his time.
No. I'll tell you what, I've been somewhat retired from jokestering. I'm out of the classroom now, no audience. All I would say over the past 6 months, there have been 3 deer killed on Slade Hill Road heading up toward Lisburn. They're right around the area where you would turn back to the old Appleton paper. Appleton, that's probably Appleton Road.
Appleton, yeah.
Street. We almost got one. We don't know how we didn't hit it. I wasn't driving, my wife was driving. We've seen them going up toward Lisburn, we've seen them in the field there and not come out on the road. There've been 3 that I know of that have been killed. And I don't know, again, I don't know who, I think we should be letting people know that there's a potential for deer to be there. They're getting more and more, along with turkeys, now we got deer.
And red fox.
We've always had turkeys driving around there. There's that's all I have.
Is that it?
That's it.
We'll talk to the engineer about that and see what, I mean, it's a state road, so I'm not sure if we can put one up on our own or we need their permission,
Okay.
but I'll check with him.
Good, thank you.
Ped?
I'm gonna be quiet.
Tom?
I only have one item, just to let the board know, and some of you probably already aware of this. The Sewer Authority voted at their last meeting to increase sewer rates to $74 per quarter starting in January. And it's been 6 years since their last increase. And that was the thing I started to bring up a couple meetings ago, and I asked Commissioner Shin if they had voted on that, and he has said not yet, so I had to pull back, say, no, I can't divulge what they were gonna be talking about till after they approved it, so, but that was the news. So,
What's that, what is
From
your?
70 to
70.
74.
$16
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah, I know.
Send that letter back to that lady.
Yeah, I know, right. Yours truly exempted, that is an amazing group, amazing board and management. Yeah. I'm too young with them to be considered amazing.
Is that it, Tom?
That's it.
Tina? Nothing. Mr. Grove? Nothing. And Mr. Eby?
Just want to thank the board and staff for continued support of the Yellow Breaches Watershed Association. We had our annual community gathering last week at the barn at Round. We appreciate being able to use the building, and probably had a fairly moderate turnout. Good program. Great.
Is that it? John? Nothing? All I had was, tonight was to talk about that. Vicki and I both attended the Watershed Association meeting the other night, and we were very enlightened by I guess you'll call him the keynote speaker. He was a gentleman that is with an organization called the River Keepers, and they're an organization that works to protect the waterways. And just learning the history, how those organizations came about and how River Keepers came out of the original organization starting in the Hudson's, a pretty fascinating story in itself. But one of the things I learned there, I had no idea. I mean, I always knew that the breaches, both our watersheds dump into the Susquehanna, right? Or both, the Conneauga and the Yellow Breaches both do, yeah. So in Lower Allen, we shed into both, right? I know, I think,
Not the Conneauga.
I think we would, right? We wouldn't shed breaches at my house. Okay. Well, either way, you know, we work so hard and we're mandated to clean our water up, and I think Mr. Eby brought this up, which I appreciate that you brought this up in the conversation, that it's a kind of ironic, we clean the water up and we're going to be doing all this infrastructure upgrades to clean things up, only to have it, when it hits the Susquehanna, just get really filthy. And because of their, restrictions aren't as firm as ours, we'll put it that way. And then you learn, what they want to do down river and stuff. It was fascinating. So I would actually encourage anybody to go to that organization and just read up on them. And also, if you have the time, hit one of these Watershed Association meetings. They're really worthwhile. So, so that's all I had. Tonight we do have a need for, I think, 3 issues in executive session.
Actually, we may have 5 now.
We may have 5.
In addition to the 3 items listed, we have one. I wanted to give the board the name of the members of the boards and commissions that are whose terms are up for renewal.
Okay.
Just for your review, no action needs to be taken on that tonight. And I wanted to talk to the board about a bonus for 1 employee.
Okay, so in addition to those 2 items, for the gentleman that's with us tonight, if your agenda just shows A and B, there was a C resignation item added, which I'm assuming if you got it here tonight, that shows that. So we will not adjourn. We're going to, we'll have to come back. So we're going to recess to executive session. We're reconvening the Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners meeting, coming out of executive session, and I believe there's, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. President, I would like to make the motion to accept the resignation of Scott Harbold, effective November 22nd, 2019.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the said resignation. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? 4-0. Is there any other information or any further comments or discussions for this evening's meeting? Hearing none, I call this meeting adjourned.
Good meeting, Mr. Vice President.
We were over an hour in executive session.